So Dakota, Gail, it is an honor to speak with both of you, and I'm really excited for this opportunity. We're going to be looking at the ultimate guide, the ultimate herbal database with a plethora of information, and let's talk about it. How the heck are you ladies?
Excellent. Could be better.
Wonderful.
We made it to April.
We sure did.
Oh, he muted himself.
I had to mute myself because I could hear myself, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, so I am super digging this backup solar bank from backupsolarbank.com. If you use code LEAK20, you'll get an extra 20% off. It is solar powered. You can see it's fully charged right now. That's why it's green. 20,000 milliamps. It also has a wireless docking station on the back here, and it has several different types of ports for different phones and different electronic devices. It's got a flashlight. It's on sale right now. That's backupsolarbank.com. Get yours today, code LEAK20, an extra 20% off. Don't be left in the dark again.
Well, yeah, hopefully my internet, I'm out in the boonies, and you know how that is with internet. So that's why I've just got a photo up there, and I have my fingers crossed that it should go just fine. But anyway, I'm careful.
It's going great right now. You want to hear something interesting is I've got Verizon, and Verizon has been out now for several hours, like the network. So yeah, I like,
that's interesting. I have Verizon also.
I'm like, no, I paid my bill. Verizon's just, they suck. So what did you say, Gail?
Oh, I have Verizon also.
Is yours working?
Just in your, I haven't tried to make a phone call. I'm assuming so. I don't know.
Yeah. See, like if you look at my, it's showing that I've got no bars. It's just totally out.
Oh, let's see. I haven't looked at mine.
So, but that's okay. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why you don't rely too much on digital world. That's why you got to get your hands dirty. You got to grow crops on your own and learn how to work the land, because if you don't, you could be like many other people that when the SHTF happens, you're going to be in the food lines saying, please, sir, may I have another? I don't want that. Yes, take your you-know-what, and then wear your you-know-what, and then you can have your GMOs. Okay. Let's talk about the herbal database.
Okay. So where do you want to start? Do you want me to just jump in?
I want to know more about you. Like what brought you the idea to create this awesome definitive guide or ultimate guide to herbal?
Okay. Well,
awesomeness.
When you get into the study of plants, you realize that it's huge and it takes several lifetimes to learn it. And so I started at a very early age when I was 5 years old because I had developed rheumatic heart disease. And at the time I was living with my two great-grandmother and grandmother, who were Choctaw medicine women, and my mother. And it was very interesting what was going on back then. That was the time when the old knowledge, the traditional herbal medicine, started to be held in severe disfavor because of modern medicine. And so instead of being passed along the way it had been, the younger generation just blew it off as being primitive and useless, and that modern medicine was the answer. So I was in the middle of a big argument between my mother and grandmothers over what should be done with me. And so I never underestimate the ability of a 5-year-old to size up what's going on. I was listening to the whole conversation, benefits of modern medicine, benefits of the old ways, and I decided my grandmothers were the ones that knew what to do. And so my life depended on it. I knew that. And so I clung to my grandmothers and studied with my great grandmother. Didn't help too much because she just was kind of fading out. But my grandmother took me under her wing. And so I began a serious study that has continued ever since. And one of the things that I realized was that it's impossible, number one, to remember everything. And so I had so many books, and I was always taking notes and picking up information. But then when I needed something specific, I couldn't find it. I knew it was there somewhere, and I'd spend hours looking for it. And I thought, this is crazy. And also, I was really intrigued by the concept of holistic medicine. And we have this tradition, well, in our culture, we kind of have a tunnel vision where we, especially because we've been influenced by reductionist science and modern medicine, that there's one disease with one treatment, right? And so holistic medicine was escaping me. And the only way to really get a grasp of it was to somehow tie everything together. So at any rate, in the early 2000s, I was living in the Hurricane Creek wilderness. And that's a whole other story. But there, I had been discovered, and there was a ethnobotanical anthropologist professor who discovered me and got me a little tiny solar powered computer. And that was the beginning. I went, okay, I'm pulling everything together in one place. And it's continued ever since. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. There are about 30,000 topics in it now, and about 500,000 articles and videos and studies and text and the whole 9 yards. So that's kind of how it's born. And I just depend on it so much. And initially I did it for myself, but I realized that it was something that would be very useful to everybody.
No, that's incredible. Talk about a lot of information. And there is, I go back to what my grandpa used to tell me when he was here with us about how he remembers his mom actually crying sometimes because she was worried about being able to feed her family and, get enough of these vouchers to go out and get milk, etc. So my grandpa, he saved money better than anybody I have ever met in my life. He was a school teacher, and somehow he managed to put 5 kids through school very, very successfully, and with, giving them everything they wanted. And he would take a Snickers bar and turn it into like 5 different candy bars, and hide the other 4. So, but when he said that, the reason I'm bringing him up is because when he used to talk about the food shortages.
Yeah.
And then I had a guest on the show named Linda Runyon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know her.
Yeah. And she's like, well, I remember looking at people in the lines waiting for food. And I'm like, what the heck are you waiting in line for? It's all around us. And she's like picking food and stuff. So I just thought that was so cool. And it seems to me like a lot of this ancient knowledge has on purpose been covered or manipulated or twisted, it looked at as woo or fake or not effective, because you've got these big companies that are able to market and pitch their patented products as the solution. It's about money is what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly.
All
and
about the money that made us, right?
One of the things that I realized was that the traditional herbal medicine fell by the wayside when the scientific medicine came in, because the practitioners, the granny women and root doctors, didn't have a vocabulary to describe what they were doing that sounded scientific. And because of that, not because it didn't work, but because they didn't have a medical model to explain everything they were doing. And so that was another motivation for me when I started building the database, was to bring all the science into it.
Oh, you're back. Okay. There was
Okay.
I think that the gremlins were getting you for a minute, but like you said, you're a ways away. So is the science, the verbiage, and this industry that usurped up everything in its path to have a control grid, kind of like a one-stop shop. Oh, have a problem? Come see us. We'll offer you a synthetic solution.
Right, exactly. Now, I do have those in the database because it's integrative and it's there to help doctors and nurses and to help people understand, if they are on pharmaceuticals, what those drugs are and what they could use as an alternative, what the side effects are, what kind of herbs could help reduce side effects. So I have all of the most advanced medicine in the database alongside the most ancient medicine. and pulling it all together.
Now, let me ask a question about you. You've seen the garden that Gail has, right?
Right. Oh, no,
Sure.
I haven't. I've heard about it.
I was going to ask if you could grow a lot of what you have
I
in the
may
database.
I may be able to show you when we get into the database. I don't know how it works. We'll play with it and see if this will work, but I can show you a little bit of my garden in the wilderness. So one of my
Great.
motivations was to conserve endangered heirloom seeds. So I brought hundreds of different varieties of seeds with me into the wilderness, and I figured that if I grew them out there where there wasn't going to be any GMO pollen contamination, for example, with the corns, then I could save seed that was going to stay pure. And so I had a huge garden, 1 acre, but I also foraged a lot in the forest. I was the only person living on 15,000 acres of federal wilderness preserve inside the Ozark National Forest. So I was in a perfect place to do that.
Yeah, the Ozarks are great. And there's a lot of places out there that are like cavernistic, right? Where you can actually go.
Yeah, a lot of caves, a lot
Nice.
of crystal in these mountains. In fact, they say that this is where the bulk load of crystal is in the United States.
Well, that's neat. Let's see if this database will pull up.
Okay, let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. I don't like to wear my seatbelt. I'll be honest. I never do.
Wait till you see this. It's amazing.
All right.
Tell me if you see it.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. So when people log into it, this is the first screen and it explains how to use it. So I'm going to give you a quick tour and then we'll go to some things that I think your audience would be really interested in. And you guys can jump in and tell me what you'd like to see. So there are a few things pinned at the top here. There are a bunch of menus, and that always happens to me when I'm doing Zoom. I don't know why. So there's menus here, and this is just a quick way to get to a topic, the category you're interested in. So on the right, this is an information panel, and these are all links that will take you to a place in the database. So you've got all of this. And then over here, it's broken down into animals, diseases, food, taking care of elders. You see all of that. And then I'm going to scroll down a little bit here, and there, I call this the information panel. And all of these are topics. There are about 30,000 of these topics. And this will open all the way or close down. And we'll do some of that. But what I thought I would do, there's a search box too. So this is relational. And again, I'm working to pull everything together. Let me just go, since we were talking about the garden, and let me just see if this will work. Here's a section that has my information. I've been in some documentaries and stuff, and I'm just going to see if any of these, this is my wilderness garden. There was a videographer that came down, and I'm going to open this up. So this is like an internal browser inside the database, and I can open that up all the way. And so you're looking at us in the Ozarks.
You say us, who are all the people?
That is my colleague. We taught there was a primitive skills school that came down 4 times a year, and he and I taught it together. His name is Kent Bonner, and Bonner, and he is known as the John Muir of the Ozarks, an incredible naturalist, and he has a book out. And then there's Steve Weber, he's a mycologist, and you can't see Holly. Holly Ferguson is now with Mountain Rose Herbs. She was with American Botanicals.
Mountain Rose Herbs, I know them. Okay.
Yeah. So let's tell me if this works. I don't know if,
It's working so far.
do you hear sound?
No,
Okay, that's okay.
we can lip sync though, right?
Yeah, I'll just tell you what.
Okay. Beautiful.
So there's Echinacea. I'll just do a little bit of this. This is about an hour long, and it's on my YouTube channel. And then you can also obviously watch it in the database.
And I'll leave links in the video description box. So everybody that watches this podcast, make sure you go through the video description box, click the link specific so you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then also you'll have access to the websites, which is Ozark Herbal Academy, LLC, and the Ultimate Herbal Database, which is herbaldatabase.org.
Now, this plant right here is Vervain. I'll show you that in the database. A lot of people would think that's a weed, but
Yeah, so many
okay, so that's,
people think our weeds are actually highly medicinal and can be used in so many ways. Like I always talk about the map
yeah.
in my backyard. My daughter loves that, and I did a short video on that. And you have so much here. The audience is going to be so thrilled as they see how this all connects.
I'll go ahead and pull up Vervain because that's one that it looks like a weed when it's first growing. And I always, when there's a plant that I don't recognize in my wherever, I let it grow out. And that's what happened with Vervain. It was just growing wild. And once it got big, I was so excited. Let's see. My typing.
What? While you're typing that up, we've still got no Verizon. That's interesting. It's been several hours. It's one of the nice things about having your own herbal garden is instead of being on the phone all the time, you can actually be outside doing something. Hello.
Yeah, actually speaking about that, I have so much to harvest right now. I have snap peas up the gazoo wad, like so.
Ooh.
And I just am trying to find the time to do all the harvesting. There's so much I have celery. I must have I'm not even joking, at least 20 huge stalks. I mean, like huge.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Gil's having a party, vegetable party.
Harvesting takes a lot of time. So it's organized by taxonomy. So here's the family, and here's the genus, and then these are different types of Vervain. And the one that we were looking at in the garden is this one, Vervain officinalis. And so now when you scroll over it, you can see the binomial name for Vervain officinalis. And often there is a pop-up that will show something like the flower or whatever. And over there on the right, you see, let me just scroll up a little bit here. Now here again, there are tabs that will open up to videos or articles or whatever. And then you can scroll down to see the constituents and the effects and the uses, and it's also combining. So here's where it's combining Chinese medicine with Western medicine. So, and if you don't know what qi constraint is, that's in the database if you want to learn about Chinese medicine. And so you see it does all these things. It's fabulous for the nervous system, promotes clear thinking, generates strength. And then we've got studies here. I'll just click on that real quick. And so all of these are links to the research. And I'll just scroll down. You see it's anti-inflammatory, antifungal for cancer, depression, digestive system, neuroprotective is for Alzheimer's, oral health is great for gingivitis. And then the preparation and dose is here. So you see what is the daily dose, what are some ways you can use it. And I always put cautions in there because there almost always are cautions. And then we've got the essential oil that everything's color coded. So that's the code for essential oils. And then I'll show you one more thing about this. We'll go back up here. That purple color are the phytochemicals. that green color is for therapeutics or health conditions. So I'm going to close this info panel up a little bit.
And of course, I have to throw in a disclaimer here. Ladies and gentlemen, none of this is health advice. None of us are doctors. This is an information source for you as an adult to make a choice.
It's absolutely just educational. That's all it is. And so now here are some of the key phytochemicals. You could, if you don't know what that is, you can click on it and find out what it does. It gives you a lot of insight into the plant. And then scroll bars will pop up when there's too much to fit on the screen. So here you see some of the things that it does, and we can scroll. Oops. Oh, come on. We can scroll.
Herbs for asthma, natural therapies for migraines, fungal infection. I mean, these are common things that people have issues with that they can click on, and then they can see all these other things that they can do.
Mm-hmm.
It's so extensive as you start working with it, and you're seeing, like, even up at the top, you can see like there's CCP virus and cooking tips and recipes and essential oils. And then like down at the bottom, you're looking at common cold. And as you click, and it opens up and it opens up, and everything is so nicely connected and well organized. Like, look at this, look at how everything connects. Isn't that beautiful?
Venus and its plants.
So there's also a medical astrology is in here.
Oh, cool.
And so this tells you the plants that, well, obviously are considered to be ruled by Venus. And
this is right up Rex's alley right here.
So here's medical astrology. I'll just click on here. And the Casebooks project is really interesting because I had a interview with one of the experts in that, and he turned me on to this, and that actually reviews cases of different disorders and match them up to the astrology to show there is science behind it. And so here's Alchemy and Medicine. So we could open that up. Let's pull this up here. And here's, for example, a video. So you can go in depth into this part of it. And then there's also Spagirix. Whoops, come on. Spagirix is a way of making your herbal medications. And it's pretty cool. It dates out of alchemy. And so I really like Spagirix preparations. It's I think some of the best. So you get into the doctrine of signatures. This is the color for making herbal medicine. And so it's broken down.
That can be really useful for people to see too. And I do have someone that wants to learn more about what to do for COPD.
Okay.
For the links that you might have in your database that can
okay. They're cooking tips and recipes, because ultimately we understand that food is the best medicine. And to make it practical, I have broken things down into these categories, and there are tons of recipes here to help people. That color is, this gray color is things that are toxic or poisonous. And so you see, and here's all of the data about why that's not a good idea. And if you want to learn more about the toxins, there you go, boom, you can just dig into any of these. And what I've tried to do is show things you can use if you can't get away from it, things that you can use that will help you minimize some of the harmful effects. So here we've got videos, articles, and studies. This is all on plastic. And
plastic is like everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh. And I also have, just so we remember, I have someone that wrote about radiation and chemo also. So if we can just make sure to cover that. That would be great.
Okay, well, I'll just go ahead and put it in right now because I've got a lot on radiation protection.
Oh, fabulous. Okay.
Also on cell phones and Wi-Fi and 5G and all that stuff. So this is the section on radiation.
I want to just jump in real quick also on this. C60 is an extremely powerful antioxidant, and there are a ton of studies that were done with experiments where they were dosing rats and mice with high levels of radiation. We're talking extremely high levels of radiation. And the test subjects that were given the C60 had much longer lifespans than those that didn't. So I just want to throw that out there as
thank you, because you see, I don't have it connected to that yet. So
look at that. You've got C60 right there.
Yeah, you didn't. Whoa, you just noticed. Isn't that
Dakota,
cool?
you're awesome.
Everything's in here. It covers everything. And so yeah, the purple power and all that. This is the color for supplements. And but let's go back to radiation for a second. So I'll have to add C60. I'll check into that, and that's what I love, is when people bring information to me, because it's, I spend so much time going through all the research and everything is, and I never get it all. So that's why I'm still building this out.
This is a beautiful site. I love the way everything's just connected. I mean, you've got these lines that just point A to point B to point C. You've got like chain link. Do.
Yeah.
Rad.
Yeah. So it makes it easy to see, all of this is related. It's hierarchical in a way. So all of these things are related to this. It's all related to environmental chemicals and toxins, right? And so you can go into, I'm going to click on radiation protection. And this is all from the research. It's so, and I've got the studies in there. So when you're looking at here, these are phytochemicals, and they're studies showing what types of radiation it helps protect you from, the mechanisms, how it works. Here's about what to do in a radiation emergency response, how to deal with UVA, UVB induced skin damage. But this is a color for different herbs like beets, a food. If you think you're exposed to lots of beets, will help. Include that in your diet. Rosemary is one of the best for radiation. It has its own category. American ginseng, holy basil. And then here we've got the cell phone radiation levels in food. See what I've got there. Just got one thing there. And then of course there's a ton on food. So if we go up to food, you'll see here, according to the color coding, you kind of get an idea of what the topic is. Now, we were talking about starvation and famine, so that has its own category. And some of these things, like Asian ginseng, will help with people who are trying to survive that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. And so will carnosic acid. So, and then this color, pink, is for physiology and anatomy. So if you want to learn more about appetite, and let's get up here. So this is kind of how it's broken down. So I wanted
the kid with the fork and
what?
That was a good picture. The kid with the fork and the head down on the plate.
Yeah. You know what that looks like, I bet. Not so much your kids, probably.
No. What?
So Now, some of this, it's kind of obvious that these sort of some things would be in the herbal database. But when we are learning about this topic, it goes pretty deep. So obviously it has to do with nature, right? So I'm going to go to nature. And under nature, there are, this color is for healing therapy. So here's about nature's impact on seriously ill patients. What about its restorative power? Forest bathing, just about anybody can do that if there's a forest.
Ah, yes. Well, Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch Project, let's give him a little shout out because he has YouTube videos on exactly that, forest bathing.
Sure. It's fabulous. Yeah.
I don't know how to say it, but he says it.
Shinrin Yoku.
Shinrin Yoku, thank you.
So let's just take a look at this for a second. And there are PDFs in here as well. And okay, here's one. So this is about the physiological effects, evidence from field experiments in 24 forests across Japan. So works, and we know how it works, and that's fabulous because some people might not believe that you can just go out into a forest and get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the energy from the forest, and then it just clears everything, and it's wonderful. People can get out more in nature. If we changed our lifestyles,
yes,
our own food, we were using a database like this to heal ourselves because we have the power to heal ourselves, is my opinion.
Yeah.
And, just being one with nature, it would be so different.
Well, when you get into it and you see the beauty and majesty of the complexity of the simple things that we take for granted, and you put it aside anything from the medical industry, it beats that over and above. It's awesome. It's like, I'm just in awe all of the time. Now down here is a breadcrumb trail, so you can go back to where you were. And I want to go to quantum. Have you studied quantum biology at all, you guys?
I have not.
This is so exciting. And you know what? It's not even new. We think it's new, but it's not. Back in around 235 BC, under the reign of Ashoka in India, they had, you know about Ashoka, Gail?
I a little bit from a long time ago, yes. So go ahead.
I have a couple of volumes that were written in Russian by a Russian author called Buddhist Logic, who's a fabulous scholar that went through their texts and everything. And he tells about how during that time, Ashoka was bringing together all of the different schools of thought, philosophy, from Vedanta to Hinduism and Buddhism, and everybody who had something to say about what constituted reality. He brought them all together to argue their points, not in an emotional, egotistical way, but to try to find out what was going on with reality, an honest attempt. And that was the big event that everybody came to see. Not, and like now people go to football games. Back during his time, everybody came to hear these brilliant minds discussing things like, what is reality all about? And one of the things that struck me was in some of the texts that they had back then, they were talking about how everything's made out of atoms, and that atoms flash in and out of existence constantly. And so everything that we see around us is constantly disappearing and reappearing. And that's kind of what quantum biology is about. And so this right here is a great video from I think it's the World Science Symposium, with some really wonderful, some of my favorite physicists discussing how there are apparently quantum effects in our biology. They didn't think there could be because quantum phenomena needs a really coherent, quiet environment to manifest. And our cells are just, you know, hot and wet and messy, and they thought that would interfere with it too much. But they're finding that they're finding some effects in our biology and in our enzymes, and the way we smell is quantum, apparently. Photosynthesis is quantum, the way birds migrate. So this, I encourage people to dig into because it's fascinating. And what they think is that something in our cells creates a screening effect that gets rid of all the noise, so quantum effects can happen. And I suppose it might be, one of the things might be this coherent water. Are you guys familiar with exclusion zone water?
No, does that have anything to do with Dr. Emoto's work?
Very indirectly. No, it's more Pollock's work.
Okay.
And he's Pollock. Are you familiar with him?
No.
Oh, you will love this. Easy exclusion zone water. It's also structured water. And he has shown there's a fourth, it's also called the fourth phase of water. So the water in our bodies is completely different. It's highly organized, and it seems to control a lot of what goes on inside the cell. And it may be what is providing the ability for quantum effects to happen inside our cells. So let's see, there's a video here that's good. Okay.
I'm showing off his website just real quick, and then I'll put the screen back over to you. But for those that are interested, this is the Pollock Laboratory, uncovering nature's deeply held secrets, and then easy water.
Yeah.
Hopefully they won't have smart water soon that you have to like hook up to the Borg to get. Smart water, drink it. It makes you stupid.
Smart water.
I wouldn't be
put
surprised.
aspartame in it.
Cities.
Aspartame and nanites. So we can track you.
They don't understand water yet. That's what's so amazing. That's what I mean with the simplest things. You'd think they would totally understand what water is, but they're still trying to figure it out. It has a memory, and that is what you were talking about before. So then let's go to consciousness. So, you know, the database is digging down into pretty much everything and tying it all together so we can deepen our understanding and appreciate how such things as quantum healing might work. That's in here. And here is a bunch of really good videos, how consciousness determines biology. Those organoids, those fake little brains.
Did they put in the space station?
The organoids?
Yeah, they put a bunch of those in the space station. Did you hear about that?
No, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they're like, oh, they seem to be sentient. What should we do? Well, let's make more. Yeah, it's a very interesting, because there was a lot of controversy when these scientists were picking up that they appeared to be thinking. And so then they started asking the questions, are we dealing with sentient life here?
Yeah,
and just because it doesn't have a human body, I mean, I want to just do a pattern interrupt for a minute when you brought those up. Yeah. Because there's a lot of talk about changing the way we eat, right? Finding ways to print food and make it taste like meat, but have it be plant-based or have it be stem cells from an animal. And then you have to ask the question, what is life? If you're creating something that doesn't have any senses outside, or maybe it only has a couple of sensory perceptions, so it's like stuck in this blob and it's born into this blob and then you consume it. I mean, is that better than eating an animal and hunting an animal the natural way? Or is it better than factory farming? I mean, factory farming is pretty nasty. That is some of the nastiest stuff I've seen, the way they treat animals. Talk about hell on earth. Those animals are dealing with it. Absolutely. So I just, the more organic we can be, the more we can grow our own, the more we know, if we know where we're getting our food, if we know where we're getting our herbs, if we know the packaging, etc. Most likely, in my eyes, I see people having a much more balanced life versus just believing what the package says at the store that they go purchase. Well, it says it's organic. It says it's natural. And you find out what natural really means. They can put all sorts of stuff in something labeled as natural.
That's right. Yeah, you can't. And there's also in the database information about the grocery labels. So if you want to get into that, you can go there, and I'm updating.
Show the audience where that is. I think it's so important to teach people how to read labels. I'm always doing it with everyone I come across, even though that probably really annoys them. And my kids, I've taught them how to read all ingredient labels. And so I think that would be really good for people to see where it is and how they access that on your database too, because people can subscribe to your database.
Yeah. So this is about food companies. That's where it's attached. There's also stuff about the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, medical industry. And so we've got 2 categories here. And when we open it up, these are videos. What you need to know about food markets and labeling scams. Is GMO labeling changing? I just put that one in recently. And so, and then of course there's videos and articles up here. How to decipher confusing and misleading labels.
Very misleading oftentimes.
The difference between non-GMO and organic. And here's how they can hide GMO.
Yeah, but it's going to be okay because Uncle Bill is
That one's
buying a
gone.
whole bunch of farmland. And we know that he loves us so much.
I know.
So
isn't that
feel
scary?
safe and secure, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, if you thought Windows 10 was bad.
Yeah. So anyway, we need to grow our own and work with each other, with farmers market people and all of that. So there is a section here on gardening. And so I'm going to the menus. Now I started it out just to be herbs, but it has gone beyond that. And this section, even though it's not designated vegetables or fruits, it covers a lot of the same principles. So we've got a soil menu, planting, materials and design. How do you maintain it? What about fertilizing? This is not wanting to open for me at the moment the way I want it to, but that's okay. So biochar, compost, autumn composting, comfrey, earthworms, cover crops, manure, etc. So really, and there's greenhouses, and this is pretty extensive, this whole section. So
you've put a lot of time into this.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
Now I have just lost my little scroll bar. What's going on? There we go. Okay.
Do you have a "They Love Us So Much" section in there?
He has a lot of videos.
I'm just joking.
Like Green Greg's is on there. I think some of my stuff is in here.
Yeah.
I think some of Dr. Paul's stuff is in here.
So what would you like to see? Where would you like to go?
Gail?
Well, I do still have someone that will ultimately watch this that's curious about the COPD section, but just kind of showing people and talking about, like, how do they get to the point where they find this database, subscribe to this database, how you can only use it on a computer.
Right.
You know, let's go over all of that too, because people are seeing and now they're getting a taste for, ooh, what's this? But you offer so many other things, and you offer a way for people to subscribe to this. So,
okay.
Yes. Go into that is probably the best way.
Okay. So you're right. It has to be used on a computer. It will not work on any kind of mobile device. That's the main thing. And you can subscribe to it at herbaldatabase.org. It's $15 a month or $100 a year. And then I have started giving free classes again to people who are subscribers. I stopped that for a while, but I'm starting that up again. So here under COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, you see it's attached to a number of things. Like here are lung exercises that you can do. Chronic bronchitis is one considered to be a type of COPD. That's a little confusing because sometimes when doctors tell you you have COPD, that's kind of an umbrella term. And it could be, people are scared it means emphysema. That's what it used to mean, but not anymore. It's now it can be shortness of breath, chronic bronchitis. And here's about the use of, it's risky using these inhaled asthma COPD steroids. If doctors prescribing that, you ought to check this section out. Here's about pulmonary emphysema. And it's not the case that there's nothing you can do. So what you're looking at here are different things, plants, herbs, acupuncture. Ayurveda is in here, and so is Chinese medicine. So depending on where you want to go, it's just all together. Way on therapy, whole body vibration, yoga, Tai Chi, peppermint essential oil.
And I actually sell these essential oils too. And so I'm looking on here because that can be used as something to aid someone that has one of these issues.
I really like your essential oils, by the way. So, and there is.
Where do they get those at? Real quick, if I could ask.
My essential oils?
Shameless plug.
Oh, thank you. So if they just write me at info at rainbowfoodrocks.com. I don't have an online store set up yet. I'm a little technically challenged. But if they just email me then and tell me what they're interested in. On my website, which is www.rainbowfoodrocks.com, they can go in the menu and they can click and they can see all the oils that I offer, and they can see some of the posts that I have and what they look like and where they're coming from. So they're coming from Nisarga organic farms in India, and they're only touched by yogis, and they're organic, they're pure, they're not diluted. So they're coming straight to me, and the only person between the farm and me is my friend Krishna, and he's a yogi. And so I get them in the big liters, and I just repackage them into smaller containers and put my Rainbow Herbals logo. So yeah, you can find all that information. I'll put it in the chat right now since I'm on the chat for your live, Rex, and let me know if you have any other questions.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do have suppliers for herbs and let's type the right things, supplement. So when I find good suppliers of herbs or essential oils or supplements, I put them in here so people can find them. And so here's stuff on adulteration of herbs. That's an important thing to know about. They're quality supplement providers, essential oil suppliers. I've got your stuff in there, Gail.
Oh, great. Yay.
Right there.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So people, you can all see me in here. Ta-da!
And then there's some different other options located up here on the tabs.
I'll put it in the chat. So go ahead.
Are there any questions in the chat that I should know about?
Anything
Someone
that was
says
asked,
they love the tree spirit scent. I think they're talking about the oils. And I just wanted to make a. Here's the question. Also, have you heard of DMSO? That's a question in the chat.
Okay, let's pull that up. Okay, so I'm going to open this up. It's going to open all the way. And let's just pull this up here. Here's about the controversy, many uses, much controversy. And then the uses and risks. And so this is kind of what you hear in the conversation is that, yes, great, or it's really dangerous. And so then I've got a lot of text in here that talks about how it's used. And then Sloan Kettering gives a clinical summary about its use. They used it in cancer and how it works, the mechanism of action. But it doesn't stop there because we've got studies about it. So let's just open that up. And there's obviously a lot here, how they use it in oncology or using it in rheumatic disorders. And then there's cautions. And it's not really too much in terms of cautions. It's not approved. That doesn't always mean much, but it's not approved for over the counter. The industrial form could be contaminated and pregnant women shouldn't use it. As far as adverse reactions, there can be some dry skin, urine discoloration, dizziness, changes in the eye lens have been reported in animals. We always have to take the animal studies with a grain of salt. And in fact, when people go through this and they see all these studies, they may not know how to read them. Just because it's a study doesn't mean it's good, right?
Oh, totally.
So if we go to clinical and medical research here, these are all the different kinds of studies that you'll see. And you can come here and learn what that means. And in fact, wait a minute, let me come back to this, I think. Let me open this
Someone
up.
in the chat that's saying wonderful things about how this person uses this on joints and injuries to stabilize organ transplants, brain surgery, spinal injuries, hernias. It's really interesting to hear.
Yeah,
things.
Yeah, a lot of people really love it, and sometimes it's I have a CBD oil salve that has a DMSO added to it. Now, here is, if you're looking at studies, this kind of tells you about the quality of a study. So systematic reviews are the very best, okay? Then the next best, if it's critically appraised, that's really good. Randomized are kind of middle ground. Cohort are okay, but not that great. Case controlled and background information, expert opinion is not considered to be really great. So that just gives you an idea if you're evaluating this stuff on your own. And here's about the Nuremberg Code, about protecting personal health information, ethical principles for medical research. So there's a lot in here along those lines as well, about flawed study interpretation. So if you really want to get into it, it's helpful to just take a little time and dig into this part. And here, this is interesting too, scientific versus clinical reasoning.
You're making way too much sense. I actually had to put on the duct tape aluminum foil hat with the the cosmic energy sensor there. This is so fascinating the way you're putting this all together. And Gail actually did the same thing. She just is missing the 5G liner underneath that hat there.
Yeah, I gotta take the liner from the hat and put it in here. Oh my god, stylish.
Full 5G protection. Now, you said something also earlier that I thought was really cool, Dakota, about nature and how powerful nature can be with the body. And you think about a lot of people that go through certain physical situations. So they go to the hospital, and then the hospital itself is, they're doing their best to keep it super sanitary, which is great. And then it's just like a enclosed environment, artificial environment. You've got all of the different frequencies and cell towers, et cetera, that, a lot of people say, oh, there's nothing to worry about there, Rex. It's just not powerful enough. But then you've got a lot of other people that seem to be able to fill the energy. So I'm willing to look at all the options, and I could see how nature would be beneficial versus, it would be nice to see the medical mafia industrial complex figure out a way to be more with nature, but that just
there are some who are doing that, and I've got examples of those in here where they have therapeutic gardens and let's see if so this is the medical system section, new approaches to healthcare, health policy,
extensive everything is. It's just so extensive, isn't it? It's amazing.
If you were interested in new medical technology and about digital medicine, minimally invasive, let's see, health optimization, also personalized medicine. There's a lot in here on the medical systems that you can explore to find. Oh, let me just pull up integrative medicine, because that's really cool. Oh, Will Morris. Yeah, he's the one. He's a friend of mine. He's a subscriber to the database, and he used to be the CEO, or what was it called? The director of a school of Chinese medicine. He's out of that now, but his big thing is the astrological herbalism, and he's written some books on it and all that. Anyway, so there's integrative oncology, complementary and alternative medicine. So all of this is happening. Integrative psychiatry is great. So there are alternatives, but one of the things that's difficult with that is that most of them, if not all, are not covered by insurance.
Yeah, I've encountered that when I go to seek anything alternative. I don't even have insurance. I don't know if I should tell that to the audience. I don't even have insurance, because when I go around, the places I go to, they don't even take insurance, or a lot of the things that Arizonans are doing, like medical professionals here and dentists and such, are making their own kind of insurance plan, so to speak, where it's really like you pay an amount per year and you can get all these services. And
yeah, that is a good alternative. So here from the database, we're looking at integrative medical centers, and this is a list that
Arizona.
yeah, so that's really handy to have. So people just have to dig in there and take care of their own health and do the research, because usually nobody else is going to do it for them, right?
Yeah, we do have to take that responsibility to research a lot ourselves. I mean, I had to do that with healing my kids and myself, and there was some trial and error, because I didn't have a database like this. If I had had this, that would have been even more helpful. So it's a journey.
Yeah. So go ahead, Rex.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say, I kind of spaced it. I've got another appointment at 3:00. So can we do this again?
We need to wrap. Yeah, we can. Let me stop sharing.
And we still got an hour in. We still got an awesome hour. So
no, it's great.
The hour of power, or power hour, whatever. But I had a great time. This is such an amazing organic opportunity. Let's just, that verbiage there, I think, is perfect, because it really is organic. You're taking away the power from the machine, and you just you gotta do something. You can't just, I'm gonna look it up on the internet and everything's gonna grow in my backyard and I've got it all right there. But you can get. I was just gonna say, like with this database, what you've got, people can look into that, and then they can be like, okay, now I have a game plan.
Right.
Now there's something I can do about it, and I'm not just throwing stuff on the wall and hoping it's going to stick. If you ever had a sales job before, they say, man, just throw it on the wall and hope it sticks. And half this time, I got to cancel, man. I can't. It doesn't, anyway, that high maintenance manager, that just high pressure, he's like, sell. No, this is organic. This is the way that people did it for millions of years, thousands of years. And now we're starting to re-experience that again. So thank you. I had a great time.
Well, good. And thank you. I enjoyed it too. And I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get into the wilderness sometime.
Yeah. Ozarks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm okay. I'll go out to the Ozarks, but you got to come out here to Colorado.
Oh, well, I don't travel anymore. I grew up in Colorado.
I'm just joking. We can do Zoom. I can take you around on Zoom and I'd be like, check this out, and you'll be wherever you're at. But no, I got to bounce. This was awesome. Thank you very much, Gil.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
We'll put links in the description box for you.
Okay. Bye, all.
Bye.
Be the change you want to see.
Nanny.
Nanny.